Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel.
I'm Steve Kiltonick here in Lee, where I'll have the story of the Berkshire's first and oldest parochial school, which recently celebrated 130 years of Catholic education.
I'm Peggy Weber, and I'll have the story of a visit from organizers of Catholic Relief Services to the Diocese of Springfield.
And a unique way of sharing faith and evangelizing in the community. These stories and more are just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel from St. Mary's School in Lee.
Here is your Reel to Reel host, Sharon Roulier.
Hello and welcome to Reel to Reel today as we come to you from St. Mary's Catholic School in Lee. Over the last 130 years, St. Mary's has remained true to its mission to provide children with a safe, nurturing environment that fosters a love of learning while keeping faith in their daily lives. But as Steve Kiltonick now explains, it was only through the perseverance of an unlikely hero that the school was founded way back in 1885 during the height of the immigrant wave to America.
The beginnings of St. Mary's School took place long before the summer of 1885, when the old school opened its doors to 150 students on Academy Street, just up the road from St. Mary's Church. Jane Sedgwick of the wealthy Sedgwick family of Stockbridge labored tirelessly for 25 years to establish a parochial school in western Massachusetts. A convert to Catholicism, Sedgwick felt the area's new immigrants, many of whom arrived from the Emerald Isle to escape the Irish famine, deserved a church to worship in. In 1880, Sedgwick's plea ultimately reached the Vatican. Pope Leo XIII was so impressed by her perseverance that he gave his blessing to build a new school in Lee. 5 years later, Father Terence Smith welcomed Reverend Mother Josephine and 4 other nuns from St. Joseph's of Chambéry, France, to teach grades 1 through 8. For 72 years, the old school served the parish well until a booming student population rendered it obsolete. Building a new school was the lifelong dream of Father Jeremiah Murphy. St. Mary's pastor spearheaded the 7-year effort to raise the $450,000 needed for the construction. In 1957, the dream became reality when the new St. Mary's School was built up the hill on Orchard Street. The school opened in the fall of 1957, which coincided with the parish's 100-year anniversary. At the school dedication, Springfield Bishop Christopher Weldon noted that 1/3 of the student population of Lee will be accommodated in the new building. With the new school, the original building was doomed for the wrecking ball. But Joseph Toole, a local businessman, stepped in to save the historic structure.
One of the more memorable moments in the school's history took place in 1989, when the old school, which used to be located here on Academy Street, was actually raised up off its foundation and took a ride down the street.
May 23, 1989 is a day residents of Lee still talk about. Onlookers held their breath as a 300-ton structure slowly inched its way down Main Street. It took 12 hours to make the one-block journey north to its final resting place. The building was transformed into the Chambéry Inn, which stands as a testament to the many Sisters of St. Joseph who served over 100 years as St. Mary's educators. Over the past half-century, the school ideals and philosophy has remained intact. At this pre-K through 8 school, every child shines. Polly Crosby, who has taught at St. Mary's 40 years, offers her reasons why the school has kept its doors open so long.
I think it's tradition, and that we stay true to the Catholic values. We stay true to preaching the good news. And though the curriculum might change, the faculty, the administration might change, St. Mary's is still basically the same as when I began in the 70s. And that's teaching and embracing the beauty of Jesus' words, of finding the good in everybody.
At St. Mary's, students can be whatever they want.
I think we instill in them, or we enable the student to really showcase what they have. They're not afraid. Maybe someplace else they would be afraid of being mocked, but not here. There really is a safety zone here where they're very free to be themselves.
Brady Clancook and Leanna Hall are students who exemplify the tradition that is so common at St. Mary's. Brady is the youngest of 5 siblings, all of whom have graduated from the school. Leanna's grandmother, father, and uncle all attended St. Mary's. Her sisters are students as well.
Since kindergarten, it's never really changed. We've you get different teachers, but like you still like have the same effect. Like all of the teachers, like they like know you and like they try and like get to know you better.
Teachers really prepare you for high school. Like with the small class sizes, they can always help you with your work, and you always get like enough attention so that way you can really understand what you're learning.
Mary Valeri has taught various grades at the school since 1986. She is also the school's music director.
There is something very special about St. Mary's. It's almost something, I don't know if you can put into words, but there's just a very good feeling here, a very safe feeling, and I think that draws people.
Oh, my soul, bless God's holy name. Remember that.
Olivia and Quinn talked about their teachers and what they loved about St. Mary's.
I like how it's just warm and open. They're open to anybody and they are accepting of everybody, no matter your race or your voice or anything.
Everyone is so nice and they're so easy to talk to. And it's really just like kind of like my second home now, because I love how everyone really opens up to you and you can feel like you can talk to anyone really. And there's no popularity contests, no drama. It's just really nice to come to school here.
Besides academics, the students benefit from the strong Catholic faith, which is instilled here at a young age.
Okay, who would like to lead us in prayer this morning? Dylan?
Oh my God, I firmly believe that you are the one God in three divine persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I believe that you...
The school, whose motto is Education with a Plus, has always been known for its outstanding curriculum. Jennifer Maston teaches math and science to sixth graders.
We like to make sure that we are teaching the most innovative curriculum that there is. I think a big goal for us is to make sure that we're really cutting edge, that we're really keeping up with everybody else, if not above everybody else.
Maston said technology is a big focus of Principal Jane Fury.
We have interactive whiteboards in the building. We have 2 Chromebook carts, one for the elementary wing and one for the middle school wing. And then there's always been desktops in the computer lab, one for each student in each class.
And so we pray in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
In celebration of the 130th anniversary, Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky visited the school in October for a special Mass, which he celebrated with Father Jack Schaefer.
Bells of St. Mary's, we always will love you.
At St. Mary's, its tradition and the strong Catholic values, which have been passed down from generation to generation, that have kept the school vibrant and alive for well over a century. And for students and faculty, there's an even bigger milestone on the horizon, 150 years.
So proudly ring out while we sing out,
For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
Congratulations to everyone here at St. Mary's on reaching this great milestone. And speaking of celebrations, joining me now is Sister Andrea Suzuki, Superintendent of Catholic Schools for the Diocese of Springfield, who I am sure is very excited to talk about a favorite annual tradition in Catholic schools. Hello, Sister Andrea. Thanks for being with us on Real to Real today.
Thank you, Sharon. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Sister Andrea, next week, all of the Catholic schools in the diocese are gearing up to mark Catholic Schools Week, not just here in the diocese, but across the country as well. And I understand that all of the schools will be celebrating with a common theme this year. And what is that?
Well, Sharon, the theme this year is Catholic schools, communities of faith, knowledge, and service. That theme allows us to remind the public that we do not stand in isolation. So from the support of Bishop Mitchell Rosansky to the parishioners, the parents, grandparents, members of community, board members, etc., we are all part of the communities of Catholic schools.
And locally, what are some of the things that the schools are looking forward to this year?
Well, we're very excited. We're going to follow the theme this week. So with respect to the faith element, there will be many liturgies celebrated throughout the diocese, and our students will actively participate in those. We have academic excellence going on in our schools. We're going to have Mathathons, spelling bees, geography quizzes, evenings with multicultural events, presentations by our students. There will be guest speakers coming in. There will be presentations on the environment, the care of creation, and our children, again, will participate in all of these, and public will be welcome to some of these events. There will be special collections, again, of food to replenish some of the pantry shelves. There will also be some showers, baby showers for Bethlehem House. There'll be all kinds of thank you cards being written to those who support our schools. Some of our students will go up to the Soldiers' Home to perform for the veterans there. There will be cards and gifts sent to our military. So our children are going to be very involved. They will be sending cards also to the homebound, to the parishioners who support us. So we ask everybody to please check the websites of our schools, check our diocesan websites, and please come have a tour of our schools. If you are parents who have not even thought about Catholic school education, please come and see. We welcome all of you to come in.
All right, Sister Andrea Suzuki, I hope you all enjoy the week-long celebration, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Sharon. We look forward to it.
Now, for nearly 75 years, Catholic Relief Services has been helping the impoverished and disadvantaged overseas. Founded in 1943 by the Catholic bishops of the United States to serve World War II survivors in Europe, the organization has expanded to reach 85 million people in 101 countries on 5 continents. Well, last fall, representatives from Catholic Relief Services visited the Diocese of Springfield to connect with our Bishop Mitchell Rosansky and thank people here for their generosity. Reporter Peggy Weber met with them and tells us more.
Catholic Relief Services does a lot of good around the world, but they know they do not do it alone. Maureen McCullough, Regional Director for Catholic Relief Services for the Northeast Mid-Atlantic region, came to Springfield to offer a personal connection and say thanks. She has a lot of ground to cover because her region extends from Portland, Maine to Richmond, Virginia, and includes 39 dioceses and more than 100 Catholic colleges and universities. Still, it was important to take time to visit this diocese.
I would very much like to thank the people of Springfield for their wonderful generosity to Catholic Relief Services and the people we serve around the world. Whether it was after the Haiti earthquake or after the typhoon, people here respond.
Mari Barboza is the relationship manager for CRS in the Diocese of Springfield and 8 other dioceses. She said they also came to Springfield to meet with Bishop Rosansky.
We know that he's familiar with the work of Catholic Relief Services since his time in Baltimore. However, we wanted for him to know of how generous and supportive this diocese has been through many natural disasters that have happened, the latest one in Nepal. But throughout this whole time, this diocese has been very supportive, as well as in Rice Bowl, which you increased the percentage of donations over the past year, and was very exciting. But we really see that more as a Lenten faith formation program for us to be able to reflect on this message of evangelizing and really living our faith.
When most people think of Catholic Relief Services, they think of the Rice Bowls, and they should. But Catholic Relief Services is so much more than that. They help millions across the world, and we in the Diocese of Springfield are doing our part.
And Catholic Relief Services does its part around the world quite effectively. About 92 cents of every dollar collected goes directly to the poor.
The reason why we're able to do this is because we are part of this largest network in the world, which is the Catholic Church. So where other organizations have to get themselves to a place and install and build the relationships, we are already there. We've been there for hundreds of years. We have the local relationships, local resource in terms of people, and just the fact that it is our mission to serve, and that makes a difference.
Bishop Rosansky praised the steadfastness of Catholic Relief Services.
Catholic Relief Services truly is universal. And one of the things that we don't think about in Catholic Relief Services is the fact that when all the news articles go away about a disaster, or for example, the earthquake in Haiti, Catholic Relief Services stays on and on to make sure that the people have resources, that they can rebuild infrastructure, and their work is so crucial, particularly for the poor of the world.
Catherine Buckley Bronner is Executive Director of Catholic Charities in this diocese and the Diocesan Director of Catholic Relief Services. She has traveled to Africa with CRS and praised the good work done by the agency.
Catholic Relief Services is just a shining example of our faith really being lived. We say that we are brothers and sisters to all in the world. And Catholic Relief Services really puts that action on the ground. In 95 countries, they truly are, for us, brothers and sisters, to those wonderful children and to the poor that need our help. I think that one of the things that we can truly do as global citizens is acknowledge the richness of a faith that really reaches out, well beyond the walls of our churches. And I think that that's something to be celebrated.
Catholic Relief Services truly serves those in the greatest need. And they do it with the help of many, including those in the Diocese of Springfield. And this Lent, they will once again be conducting their Rice Bowl campaign. The CRS website offers more recipes, prayers, stories, and other ways to make this special project even more meaningful. All are invited to participate in this Faith in Action program. For Real to Real, I'm Peggy Weber.
And Catholic Relief Services also is offering special sacramental resources for parishes along with their annual Rice Bowl tradition. There is more information about that at iobserve.org. Look for the Catholic Relief Services link. And still to come on Real to Real, Dan Dumas will take a look at what's happening in the Diocese of Springfield, and Theology on Tap, a casual way of sharing faith in the community. These stories and more are still to come on this edition of Real to Real from St. Mary's School in Lee.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Passionist Brother Terrence Scanlon, your Chalice host, inviting you to take time out of your busy days and join us Sunday morning at 10. Join Bishop Mitchell Rosansky as we celebrate the beginning of Catholic Schools Week 2016 and welcome students from Blessed Sacrament School in Holyoke. The Chalice of Salvation, your spiritual connection, Sunday morning at 10, right here on 22 News.
I'm Dan Dumas with your Real to Real news brief. The annual March for Life continued in Washington, D.C. back on January 22nd, despite the blizzard. But many local pro-life supporters stayed local and showed their support on the streets of Springfield. Real to Real's Peggy Weber reports on this first ever January event led by none other than Bishop Mitchell Rosansky.
A hearty crowd braved the cold and wind to show their support for the unborn. Several dozen people marched from St. Michael's Cathedral in Springfield to the Springfield Civic Center on Main Street and back up the hill. They were there to give public witness for the pro-life cause on the 43rd anniversary of the Supreme Court decision of Roe v. Wade, which legalized abortion in the United States. Springfield Bishop Mitchell T. Rosansky joined the group. He was scheduled to travel by bus to Washington, but feared he would not make it back on time for his Saturday commitments, so he stayed in Springfield. He said he was happy to be in solidarity with the local group.
This day, as we commemorate the anniversary of the Supreme Court decision of Roe versus Wade, is very important to us as Catholics because going back even to the book of Genesis, we find that God's greatest gift to us is creation, and He's made us stewards of creation. He's asked us to participate in His creation. And the decision of the Supreme Court back then said that we really turned away from the mandate that God had given to us to protect especially the most vulnerable of life.
Several buses from the diocese did make it to the National March in Washington, but the local pro-life walk in Springfield was organized by Pro-Life of Pioneer Valley and its treasurer, Tony Moran.
Well, we marched today really to bring focus to society, to the people at large, that we have a serious problem that we're letting 4,000 to 5,000 babies get killed every day.
A special Mass was held in the Holy Spirit Chapel following the march. It was filled to capacity and included some who could not march down State Street, but they could pray. The march included people of all ages, including 3 babies who were carried by their parents to show their support of life. A reception followed the Mass in the parish hall. Tony says he hopes the walk will become an annual event.
And a vigil for the unborn is held at 10 a.m. on the second Thursday of every month at the Holy Spirit Chapel. Call 567-6085 for more information. Finally, more than 70 people gathered at Mary Mother of Hope Parish in Springfield last Sunday for the Day with de Sales celebration to honor the patron saint of the deaf, St. Francis de Sales. Carolee McGrath reports.
I would like to welcome all of you here to this special day. Thank you for
Father Matthew Alcombright celebrates Mass January 24th at Mary Mother of Hope Parish in Springfield in sign language. The Mass was held on the feast day of St. Francis de Sales, the patron saint of the deaf.
Francis de Sales, his life was a call to holiness for all people, not just for those in religious communities or priests, deacons, or sisters. It was a call of holiness to all people, so that includes the deaf.
Father Alcombright is the director of the Diocese of Springfield's Office of Ministry with the Deaf, housed at Mary Mother of Hope Parish. The third annual Day with de Sales brought together more than 70 people for the Mass and celebration. Father Alcombright splits his time between the ministry with the deaf and his duties as parochial vicar at St. Thomas the Apostle Parish in West Springfield. He learned American Sign Language when he was in the seminary.
I was assigned to work with the deaf community in Boston, from St. John's in Boston, and I began taking classes, and I was sent to Gallaudet for a summer program, the University for the Deaf in Washington, to continue sign language, and here I am.
St. Francis de Sales is the patron saint of the deaf because of his ministry to a young deaf boy named Martin in the early 1600s in France who was unable to attend school or receive the sacraments. In his homily, Bishop Mitchell Rosansky said St. Francis de Sales was a great example for all Catholics.
St. Francis de Sales was a man who knew that he had to win souls for Christ. He used his intellect, his ability to communicate the gospel, and the love that God had implanted in his heart to touch the lives of those who had fallen away from the church.
Jesuit Father Joseph Bruce, who attended the celebration, is one of 12 deaf priests in the United States.
St. Francis de Sales he helped a deaf man. His name was Martin. And that deaf man, he was able to understand and receive the sacraments of the church from St. Francis de Sales. He took the time to help the deaf man. That's amazing.
After the Mass, a reception was held at the parish hall. Father Alcombright unveiled a painting that was donated to the diocese depicting St. Francis de Sales and the young man Martin. I'm Carolee McGrath reporting.
You can learn more about deaf ministry in the Diocese of Springfield through a link on our website, iobserve.org. There you will also find the latest news on the Catholic Church locally and beyond. Log on to our news and information website, iobserve.org. That's iobserve.org. I'm Dan Dumas, and that's your Real to Real News Brief.
And finally tonight, there is much talk about how to reach out to the fallen away and unchurched. Pope Francis has consistently suggested that Catholics need to go out beyond the church doors to share the good news. As part of the Diocese of Springfield's ongoing evangelization effort, Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky took the Pope's advice and recently visited a sports bar in Westfield for a session of Theology on Tap. John Thornton tells us more.
The way that we can seek to bring God's mercy to others is to first ask forgiveness for our own faults.
On Tuesday, January 19th, Springfield Bishop Mitchell T. Rosansky visited the Hangar Bar and Grill in Westfield. He and St. Mary's pastor, Father Frank Lawler, were there for a session of Theology on Tap. Father Frank Lawler gave a brief history of the event.
Theology on Tap has been around for a long time. It's 25 years. It was started in the Archdiocese of Chicago. And it's designed as an opportunity to bring Catholic adults together in a relaxed, positive atmosphere where they're able to discuss their faith, ask questions, learn a little bit, and at the same time enjoy themselves.
Bishop Rosansky came to the Hangar Bar and Grill in Westfield this evening to bring religion to a more casual setting. He explains what Theology on Tap is all about.
Theology on Tap is to meet people where they are, and younger people and even older people sometimes like to gather in taverns or restaurants or nice places where they can relax and have fellowship. So that's why we're here this evening, because there's a group of people from all different parishes in the Westfield area and even beyond who've come here to socialize, to have a good dinner, and to also learn more about their faith.
More than 100 guests filled the room, enjoying cold drinks and hot wings. Bishop Rosansky spoke of how young people often stray from the church after graduating from a Catholic school or religious education program. Theology on Tap is a way to reach young people where they are. One young man commented on the event. What brought you out here tonight?
I'd like to have a closer relationship with God.
Bishop Rosansky continued to speak about how in contemporary society, answers to questions are instantly available through the internet. However, questions of religion and spirituality may not be so easily answered. These questions could require what the bishop called a spiritual journey that may take time. Bishop Rosansky suggested that involvement in the church may be a good way to begin this journey.
Pope Francis challenges each one of us to be able to be instruments of mercy. So I would say, look at the different corporal works of mercy that the church does. To clothe the naked, to feed those who are hungry, to give alms to the poor, to visit the imprisoned. There's so many different ways that our parishes are carrying out those ministries. And to be able to get involved in one of those really shows how our faith is expressed.
From Westfield, I'm John Thornton.
And I understand that Father Frank Lawler is working on setting up more Theologies on Tap, and we will certainly keep you posted on that. For this week, that's Real to Real. Thanks so much for watching, and a special thank you to everyone here at St. Mary's in Lee for hosting our program today. Remember to keep up to date on all of the latest news by checking out iobserve.org, and also please friend us on Facebook at Catholic Communications. Next week, we will be at another St. Mary's High School in Westfield with student host Marissa Hanush as the diocese celebrates Catholic Schools Week. So join us next week at this same time for another edition of Real to Real, your window on the world around you. And let's hope that Punxsutawney Phil does not see his shadow next week.
Real to Real is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.